from a little bit of a different location today. I'm not in sunny Barrow-in-Furness, I'm in sunny Helensburgh. And I'm joined today with by Adrian Martin and him again, Peter Mansfield, who turns up more than a bad penny. So, yeah, I'm flanked by the army today. So, welcome, Adi, welcome, Peter.
Hello, hello,
pleasure to be back and chatting to you.
Indeed, yeah, and so Peter, just as a Adi, just as an inroad to people, you spent 17 odd years in the army as bombardier, and another fine beer as well, that is. And also, you started up a business, which we're going to talk about a bit later on, called Woodland Experiences. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And the reason we got Peter in is because he also has a Ned role in that business. So a double whammy today. So, yeah, welcome, everybody. If anybody wants to say hi in the comments, do so, and I'll bring them up, and we'll do our best to involve you. It is interactive. It is live. So just give us a little bit of a flavour, Adi, of your military service, as what you did, how you left, and what you got up to.
Well, I joined as a junior leader, so typically missed half me school exams, and then joined 26 Regiment Royal Artillery, and I did 12 years with them. And after that, I come over to Harrogate as an instructor for 2 years, and then finished my time in England with 40 Regiment. And obviously, in that time, that time, I did many a tour. Some of them I forgot because my memory's gone to pot. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know, especially nowadays. But I did about 6 tours, different countries, and then finally decided to get out. I kind of broke the mold and saw there was more to life, and that's where I got out, joined the college, and then Woodland Experiences was born.
So you went to college after you left?
Well, I joined college as as a lecturer.
Right. Okay.
Public services lecturer at Hotwood Hall College. So I stayed within the military kind of network of people.
Mm-hmm. And how long ago was it that you left?
So I left in 2005.
2005. So yeah. What was the resettlement and transition like then?
Typical of that time, there wasn't a lot. I did my resettlement as a alarm engineer, alarm fitter, and tried going self-employed as an alarm fitter, but it just didn't work because obviously you used to being paid all the time while in service. So I joined a company called Skillforce, which again run by all military, ex-military, and again you stayed within that kind of network of people. So you was never away from the military kind of camaraderie, which is really good.
Yeah, I see the dog was trying to lock you under the stairs then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how just out of interest, how did you and Peter meet up?
We both served in Germany.
Right.
And after that, obviously, things happen. You go your ways. I went to England after Harrogate, so I left Germany. Obviously, Peter stayed and went to wherever. I don't know at that stage. And then we met up through a Forces charitable Mission Motorsport. And obviously, Peter doing his car thing as he does, it brought us back together again.
Yeah. Well, I turned up
again,
to
Peter,
do this. Can you hear me? Okay. I turned up on Anglesey a few years ago to do the Race of Remembrance, this 12-hour endurance that the Mission Motorsport organised. It's a flat event and gets quite a bit of coverage in the motoring press for it. And they had this huge marquee. It's actually known as, what do they call it, the Big FO official name for in the Mission Motorsport.
Is that for flipping obvious?
It is, yeah. And we were both in it. They were doing a safety briefing or something about all the events, and one of the drivers and the team and everything were there. And across this marquee, there was our eyes met across the marquee. And I'm thinking,
soft music.
Yeah, music, soft focus, stars sort of appear to the horizon, that sort of thing. And at the end of the phenomenally dull safe briefing, I wandered over and we wandered up and I said, look, really sorry, I know you from somewhere, but I can't remember where. And we did have a sort of bit of a run through regiments, didn't we? And then we said, oh yeah, we were both in 17 Battery, 2-6 Regiment. And 17 Battery was my first battery. So I had come out of Sandhurst. I was the brand new, shiny, highly incompetent young officer. And AD was fairly matured Lance Bombardier in the city. I hastened to
add. Told you what to do, sir.
Yeah, I hastened to add that AD was in the OPs where they really didn't do an awful lot. They just sat on hillsides, under umbrellas and things like that. Where us, the proper soldiering, was down in the gun line with heavy pieces of equipment and firing big bits of steel all over the place, where men were men and small animals were very scared.
Not surprised. Yeah. Just before we move on, let's just say a quick hello to a couple of people. Terry Nelson, all the way from South Texas. Now, I'm presuming that you are a contact of Delana, who's a friend of the show and also of the other show we do, Peter. And yes. We've also got Chris Kirk, and we have Richard Wade, who usually joins us from a pub somewhere. And so I think he's there. So welcome so far, everybody. But do join in and fire some comments in. So, what made you decide to set up Woodland Experiences?
Basically, while I was at the college running the residentials for the students on the public service courses, we immersed them in the woodland by dumping them in the middle of the woods. And they literally had a fend for themselves, proper wild camping style. They've been taught all year, forgot probably whatever they've been taught, and they had to suddenly learn and remember everything they've been taught. And just sitting back and watching them doing all that and actually talking around the campfire that they had to make in the rain. And not one phone come out, is literally had to talk, which is very unusual. And you could just see how that would help, veterans and serving in the families. It just basically blossomed from there. Yeah,
and also sort of taking it back to nature and the skies. I know when I helped with my son's cub group when he was younger, and we had stations all around, and I'd teach them how to make fire, and their challenge was to brew a cup of tea. They really all get together and they sort of join in. Brilliant stuff. And so you did that as part of your college teaching, but then you obviously made that link to say, right, hang on a minute, I'm going to do this as a business.
Yeah, basically where we were on the campsite, the owner of the site at the time, Paul Leveridge, we made that connection there. Both public service lecturers, both veterans. So obviously that bond was there straight away. And I did a few pilot courses or camps on them woodlands, and from them, literally watching veterans go through the whole process, you could see the benefits from it. And then he decided to go do K2. So then we moved location, and now we're in our second location, which is absolutely awesome, as Peter will say, because he's been there. And that's the short, I say short-term journey. It was back in 2018 when it first started as a limited company. But then 2020, we made it into a CIC, so that then we can obviously everybody gets everything back from what we do.
And CIC, for anybody who doesn't know, community interest company. So you sort of you earn some money, but you actually pay it back to society, sort of thing, in one way or another. Brilliant idea. And do you have a set plot of land that you do this on, or do you just roam around?
No, we basically pay Frank, our farmer from Piper Hole Goat Farm, which is where we're located. So we're now on a working farm, and we pay him a yearly fee where our camp is literally set up all year round, so we don't have to move anything. Right. So so basically people turn up. You don't have to set anything up unless they want to put a tent up or a hammock, themselves.
Excellent stuff. That's good that you've got a base. And where
to
exactly are you
say,
located? Come on, Peter.
So I was just going to say, the camp is actually in a spectacular location. Got use of forestry blocks on the farm. I think you're going to use 2, but you've got the opportunity to use 3 if we wanted it. There's a beautiful river, stream, bigger than a stream, not quite as big as the Clyde or something like that, flowing through near the campsite. It's lovely, and it's just a fantastic location because you can stand and look round and you can see the hills and everything, but you were away from, there's no traffic or anything like that. It's just a fantastic remote spot.
No buzzing from the RAF then?
That actually is remarkably easy to access. Other than the RAF, but you can run the camps between Tuesdays and Mondays. The RAF don't work then anyway.
That's bar time.
Say nothing.
Yeah, good one. So you organise this for group? Do people just go onto your website and book this, or are you linked with charities as well? How does that work?
Well, the easiest way we found and the most productive way is beginning of the year. I put the camp dates out, which is basically every second week of the month, and the charities or hubs then see the dates. I email them, they see the dates, and then they book on and put their name to them dates. So it's like Hole for Heroes. They've put on 3 camps already for next year, and literally within 3 weeks of me putting the camp dates out live, 10 of them camp dates were booked up by different charities and different hubs. Right. So we find it's a lot easier and more productive because they already have their beneficiaries within that charity or that group. It's easy for them to select and then bring them along. And
what about individuals?
Individual can still book on if they go onto the website. There's a booking on page under the 6 steps to camp. So if they show interest and they want to book on, then we always have a few spaces spare because we could have 25 people on camps. We always keep some spare, like you say, because if somebody's not in a group or a hub or a charity, they can still come. We still make space for them.
But I guess it's safe to say that if you come and you're not part of a group and you're put in as part of a group, you soon become part of that group, especially when you get the fire lit and the brew on the go.
Yeah, there's never been a time where people don't just naturally bond. It's that old school camaraderie where like you used to meet in NAFRI and everybody just got on saying things as you want to say them. So then you're not being judged or anything. It just happens.
And do you use this to does this form part of also a rehabilitation package or anything like that?
The way I say it's we assist in post-traumatic growth. So it's everything that's happened afterwards that we try to help with, because it's all labelled for different things: PTSD, mental health, health and well-being, but it all goes towards the same thing. We're there to share, to talk. So we create that safe environment where they can talk and share, and especially us men, because we bottle it up anyway. Yeah. But while you're doing an activity, chucking axes or shooting some targets, you're talking about this stuff and not realising it.
Yeah.
And then obviously...
So just give us a flavour of some of the activity, a typical day in a camp, for example.
So Saturday morning it all starts with, they arrive Friday evening, but it starts Saturday morning. Breakfast is cooked by the campmates, if you want to call it that way, that pun. So they all muck in. If it's a family camp, we get the children to cook, so over the open fire. And then once breakfast is done and people had, they've washed, they've had however many brews, they will go and do an activity or split it. So we can do half can do target shooting, half do some axe throwing. And then we'll come back to the focal point, which is the fire. We have some lunch, we have some more brews, and then we can do forgotten woodland skills. So that's like you say, because we haven't got the bush there, but we've got woods. So we do the fire lighting, the animal prep if people wish to do that, the normal survival skills, shelter building, and then if depending on what time in the evening it is, we can do archery, that lateral throwing, which is like 6-foot spears. Basically, we throw them in the fields. Crazy woodland golf in the 4-foot long grass. There's lots of different things we literally use to help promote that conversation. So it's all by choice. If people are talking, we won't disturb them, because that's the whole point of it.
And you made a really important point there, and we'll just clarify it. You said the children cook, so this isn't just open to people who have served. It's open to their families, children. You can come as families, you can come as a group, because PTSD and any sort of stress of some kind, it's a family issue. It's not just within the person. It's just the blokes that bottle it up.
And a lot of time we had the Forces Wives Challenge group on there as well. So we had the wives and partners of serving and veterans, and like I say, they're just as affected, from the partners. They have to put up with a lot, while the serving person's away, that we don't know while we're away what they're having to put up with the family. So, it's for everybody.
Yeah. And how did you get involved, Peter?
Well, after this romantic encounter and then on Anglesey with Adi, we kept sort of bumping to each other at various other events, and then I've always had a lot to do with sort of veterans. I guess to business school, and of course they're there for people who are leaving forces, and I've done other stuff for the some of the special forces as well, on sort of leaving the forces. And Adi just by I phoned me up and said, look, we do with something like you as a non-exec to help us with the bids, but we touched on is because of all this for the veterans and it's a community interest, we try and keep the costs down as much as possible. So we've been doing at the moment has been substantially funded by grants from veteran charities. For veterans it costs down, but we have so that's Adi approached me then to sort of have an independent non-exec sitting on the board of the company that gives it a bit more gravitas and compliance, if you like, when they're going through the sort of bid process. But the other thing is sort of looking, and Adi and I, he probably regrets asking, but we've had a number of conversations about what happens next year with the austerity, etc., your cost of living, that the grants reduce. How are we going to keep the courses running? So one of the things we're looking at for 2023 is to try and run 1 or 2 courses for businesses, corporate bodies that would pay a market rate for doing one of these courses. And by if we could 2 of those in the year, we could substantially reduce the dependency on the grants that we get from the charity. So that's the aim.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to companies that have got veterans programs. And I won't reel them off here, but there are a number of companies that have got veterans programs that would make a very good addition to. That have got strong veterans communities, and the armed forces download off the internet is an idea, a list of signatories is a very good start on that. So very excellent stuff. So that's something you're trying to get it. You're trying to future-proof it a little bit. Now, I just want to bring in a comment here. So Terry from Texas thinks it's likes the idea. And this is another important point. So he made a typo here. It's such a great need out, no matter whatever you are, and then to no matter where you are. But I think both of those comments is quite important because it's very inclusive. it doesn't matter what sort of how you identify or whatever, because that may be part of the stress that you're experiencing. So it is in a very, very inclusive environment.
I think you're right. And what's impressed me when I've been on the course with Adi and Paul, who's the sort of director of the company, when they're running them, they've got a couple of guys that volunteer to come and support the run some of the activities. Is that, as Adi said, the importance is getting people to talk with one another, and the activities are definitely there as the handrails for those conversations, rather than being the focal points. Because if you turn up the course and say, well, we've had breakfast, breakfast from 8 until 9, and then at 9 we're going to do this. That's not how it works. And what impressed me was Adrian and Paul are very, very, very good at sensing when things are starting to subside, and say, right, well, let's go and think about doing this next, and we'll go off and do that. And actually, you asked Adi what your activities they do. You might only end up doing one activity in a day because of the conversation is that good, and people have enjoyed throwing the axes and the tomahawks and things, and then are sitting in the sun. As long as the conversation's going on, then there's no need to do anything else. But if you do need to kick-start them, there is they do cold water swimming as well, which is not for the faint-hearted in November.
I think you mentioned something when we spoke a few weeks back, Peter, that everything's done at camp time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it is. It's just that sort of almost like that natural pace, rather than running to a diaried agenda or anything like that. It's just run at that pace, and getting the, I don't know what you call them, the camp, the clients, whatever you use for them, but they're involved in everything from whether it's the washing up to peeling carrots to chopping carrots to making the camp stew, which one I was on had a particular smoky flavour to it. I think it's probably the best way of describing it. Burnt is another way of describing it.
Right.
But it was very good, and the people get involved in it and seem to thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up the website here, so you just to humour me a second while we sales. But that's the website there, woodlandexperiences.com. So and I love this phrase: embrace your past, pursue your future, and let your adventure begin. So very true.
He's had I think Eddie can tell you he's had a few challenges, because the camp when they started was originally on the side of Lake Windermere, and in the storm last year, the camp got absolutely destroyed. November. Is that right?
Yeah. It's about 16 acres of woodland, and probably about 13 acres of it was wiped out.
Right.
And we had veterans there at the time, so it's a typical sort of wake them up, deep. I can't remember what the words you used to call it. Bug out. That's it. You literally woke them up, bugged out into the safety of the accommodation. And that was it. We woke up in the morning and it was just like carnage. So we had to move, unfortunately. But we're in a better place now.
Yeah, and so for people that we discussed a little bit about where you are, but you're just outside Kirkby Stephen,
yes,
just to the east of the Lake District in Cumbria.
Yes, we're literally on the edge. You walk out of camp, we're on the How Gills.
Right, and so easily accessible from the M6 should you be wanting to whiz up from that London or south, or even from Scotland coming down the way.
I don't think it's even 10. Is it 10 minutes? 10, 15 minutes at the most off the M? It's not far, is it? Yeah.
No, it's really good for access.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Plenty of car parking. because
Yeah,
you've got a field. Yeah, I
we've
don't
got a
to
field.
throw you out if it's wet.
But the field, we're getting grants through the agricultural, through the farming to plant hedges and redo the roads and redo the car park. And that's just on the farming side. So that's the amount of support we're getting, because it's converting into a care farm because of what we're doing and with Frank's support. So instead, while he's doing all the farming, it will get the care farming name to it as well.
And you mentioned before we went live that you're starting a course next year that's almost like a farming experience course.
Yes,
not a petting zoo, but actually doing it properly.
Literally, yeah. It's the Woodland experience is veteran farming experience, where veterans can come along for 2 to 4 days, up to 4 veterans at a time, twice a month, and they literally live and work on the farm under Frank, one of our volunteers' guidance. And it's all to do with the therapy side, the health and well-being, literally helping Frank out. But that then leads onto the phase 2, which is through veteran farming, which is actually putting veterans into employment within the local farming industry. So they sort of do a taste a few days with us, and then hopefully that can lead to employment. We've already got four farms and farmers wanting veterans to go and help them, and with the potential of being employed. And we've not even started yet, so it's great. Yeah, it's growing very fast.
Yeah. Oh, excellent stuff. And so how many people have you got working for you or with you at the moment?
So we have 5 in total, myself and Paul. Then we have 2 volunteers, and then Yvonne, which is our on-site mental health worker. Obviously, we don't advertise her as a mental health worker, because otherwise people come along and think it's another typical, it's one of them camps. So Yvonne is just one of the team. If any time there's a need for a walk and a talk in the woods or around the farm, then she's there on call for us, and it's a major asset.
Yeah. Excellent. So in terms of getting in contact with you, they can get in contact with you through the website woodlandexperiences.com. And if there's any charities or organisations want to get hold of you, then they can get hold of you or Peter through LinkedIn or the site. I'm taking it.
Yep. All the details are on there.
So this is a really good story. So we typical veterans voice, and we had a charity last week, and Brett Townsley also deals with he deals with mental health and safety. So it's a really good story in that you've come out of the armed forces, a number of years in the armed forces. You found work for a period of time, but then you've set your own business up that's actually paying back and helping people that have left the armed forces, that have actually given some sort of commitment to society through their service, and maybe not all of them need to suffer from PTSD or any issues like that. It is open to veterans. It is a way of keeping people in touch with each other, growing that network, and from my perspective, and I'm yakking on a bit, from my perspective, it's a multiple benefits for multiple aspects of society. I can't sing highly enough for nature, because I do a bit of farming on the side. Peter will tell you. You can see my car; it looks like a tractor. But Richard brings up another point here. So have a chat with Richard. Richard Lincoln. He's a nice chap. You think he works in a pub the amount of time he's in there on his work. But yeah, have a chat with Richard.
I'll write his name down.
I'll connect you two after.
Oh, okay.
So before we go, and we've rapidly hit half an hour. It goes really quickly, but it's been a brilliant little session. If you had a message to give to veterans, what would that message be, Aidy?
I wrote this down. I don't know if it's relevant, but to be proud of who you are and what you're worth to society. Because a lot of time people come out and don't think they're worth anything, because they've left that the society they've been into. But because many won't know what you've done or seen and won't understand at first. But your skills and knowledge is what makes you you. So make sure you sell yourself, and because there's so many skills and so many benefits you have to what's out there, and don't underestimate yourself.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. That's a superb message. Anything? Any parting words from you, Peter?
Nice shirt.
Yeah.
Only really if businesses out there would sign up for a course next year, and it would all count towards your corporate responsibility because you're supporting the charity in doing so.
Yeah. Indeed, there you go. Superb. So yeah, there's a lot of avenues for this, and I wish you every success. So it just leaves me to thank Adrian Martin and Peter Mansfield for bringing this to our attention, and I'll give you the recording of this when we've finished, and feel free to stick it on your website. So if anybody wants to look at it again, then do it. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much, guys, and
Thank you.
see you next time. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.